I am this, I am so-and-so. You see? The self-realization or the knowledge of who we are in relation to Krishna is the real answer to the question, who am I? So that's why people who play around with false ego, this is a very dangerous thing. If you don't have the answer, it can drive you crazy. Next.
Question from Krishna Prapti. How does one find the balance between knowledge of the absolute truth and knowledge of a transitory, temporary world? Where do we draw the line for fear of becoming distracted from the truth?
Well, there's no line, really. The material world is Krishna's energy, and the spiritual world is Krishna's energy. So whether we're in the material world or the spiritual world, we're dealing with Krishna's energy. It's related to Krishna and is to serve Krishna, and it's when it's engaged properly, it's not a source of illusion, it's a source of illumination. The thing is, you see, if you start to associate with people who are in illusion, then you have to pretend to be in illusion too. And after a while, you stop pretending. You forget the reality and you go into the illusion as well. So the problem is of associating with non-devotees or maybe devotees who aren't very advanced, is that you have to play the game to be real to them, to relate to them, to communicate with them. You have to play this game that, oh, the material world is real, but it's not real. Huh? The material world is only real when we look at it as Krishna's energy and engage it in Krishna's service. Then the material energy is real. Otherwise, it's just an illusion. Or the material identity, thinking, I am so-and-so, the son of such and such, and I'm a member of this family and that country and that religion and this profession, and so on and so on. That's nonsense. That's not who we really are. So we should be very cautious of associating with people who are in illusion. Otherwise, we're going to start thinking like they do. You know, after doing so much work on ourselves and fixing up our intelligence in devotional service, then it would be a shame to forget all that and go back into the same old material consciousness again. But really, there's no line, because wherever we are and whatever we're perceiving, it's all Krishna's energy. But practically speaking, the people who don't try to become aware of themselves as consciousness, or who don't try to perceive the spiritual energy, can't know this. They forget it. They lose track of it. And they forget who they are. They forget what they're really supposed to be doing. And that can happen to devotees. We've seen it happen. They get all caught up in their false ego. Oh, I am the leader of the temple. I am the guru. You know, and then they forget all about who they really are. You know, who they really are is just a humble servant of Krishna like everybody else.
Next one?
Yeah.
Question from a new guest, Paul. Second time he visits. Do you mind explaining the marking on your forehead?
Oh man, you sure are new. This means I'm from outer space. And you can join our cult. This is called tilak, and if you go to India, you'll see everybody wears tilak. Either they wear a little dot, or they wear a line, or 3 lines this way, or then some of them they put this whole thing on their forehead. And anyway, it's just a marking to let people know what lineage we're from. The transcendental lineage that we're from is called the Vaishnavas, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So the Gaudiya Vaishnavas wear this mark. This is not ordinary. This is clay from a very sacred place in India where Krishna's girlfriends used to take their baths. So it's this very, very sacred place, and it's sacred to Krishna himself. So we put that on to remind us. It's very, very pure, very purifying, called Gopi Chand. And there's a ceremony that we do in the morning where we put this mark on 12 places on our body, along with names of Krishna. Keshavaya Namaha, Narayanaya Namaha, Madhavaya Namaha. And in that way, we protect our body and we cleanse the energy channels, because we put it on all the nadis, or the energy channels, the subtle body. And it's a very nice thing to do. It's a very good yoga practice.
Question from Shastri. When we chant, do we have to think about Krishna, or do I have to just listen to the name?
Well, what's the difference? If you hear Krishna's name, you're going to start to think about Krishna. If you're not thinking about Krishna, what are you going to think about? Huh? You don't want to get caught up in the mind and start dreaming. That's an offense against the holy name. The 10th offense is not to give full attention to the chanting of the holy name. So if you're really hearing the holy name, you're going to be thinking about the holy name too. And this is purifying to the mind. So try to concentrate on the sound vibration, because the sound is transcendental. Then the chanting will have the desired effect.
Question from Jan.
Jan, who's Jan?
People.
What?
People.
People? Okay, I guess. What happens during deep sleep with the soul?
Oh, this is very interesting. There's a whole, one of the Adhyaya number 4 in the third book of Vedanta Sutra describes the condition of the soul during deep sleep. So what happens is that there are 3 states or 3 conditions of the soul described in the Upanishads. That during deep sleep, he enters the nadis around the heart. And then he goes into the sky within the heart. And that he becomes situated in Brahman. And these 3 things are actually not different. Because the nadis are passages for the movement of prana. And one of the proofs in the early book, first book of Vedanta Sutra, is that prana is actually Vishnu. So, in other words, and also the sky and the heart. There's another famous quote from the Upanishads that when a soul achieves liberation, he enters into the sky within the heart. And that sky is Vishnu. That's another thing that's proven in the first book of Vedanta Sutra. So, in the third Adhyaya, fourth Adhikarana of Vedanta Sutra, then this explanation is given that the soul goes into the sky within the heart, which means he goes into the passages, the nadis, where the prana moves, and he lies down on the bed of prana, which is actually Vishnu. And in the lap of Lord Vishnu, he takes his rest. So actually, during deep sleep, what's happening is we are entering into Brahman. But because we are in material consciousness, we don't perceive him. You see? We're entering into the source of consciousness. It would be like the sunshine entering into the sun. It would be like a fish entering into water. The fish doesn't think about water because it's natural for the fish. The fish doesn't say, "Oh, I'm in the water." It doesn't produce any special sensation for the fish. Similarly, when we are in Brahman, when the soul is in Brahman, this doesn't produce any special sensation. And because we are at the moment spiritually unenlightened, we